Wait a second. Are BLACKPINK and BTS releasing a joint song? Recently, this kind of video has been spreading a lot on social media and there are visuals backing up all these claims. For example, Rosé mentioned in a program that they did an unexpected collaboration. Both groups have been making the same hand gesture at different times recently. BTS members have attended BLACKPINK concerts, and actually, the biggest clue is that both BLACKPINK and BTS are reportedly going to work with the same producer, Diplo. Now, if you're ready, welcome to a video where we examine all these details down to the finest points, and at the end of the video try to find an answer to the question, will BLACKPINK and BTS have a joint song or not? As you know, in every video I usually start by introducing the people I'll be talking about, but I'm guessing there's no one who doesn't know BTS and BLACKPINK. So sit back, relax, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Now, first of all, there are some reasons why this rumor is being talked about so much. One of them is that both groups are making a comeback around the same time, and both groups have worked with the same producer for their songs. Let's keep these details in our pocket for now and continue, because I'll mention something more detailed about this topic later in the video. Another major clue behind this claim is that BTS and BLACKPINK have recently been greeting people with the same hand gesture and have been seen making that same move at different times. People believe that this gesture might be part of the choreography of an upcoming song and that it's a subtle hint or reference to it. Our second clue came from Rosé's recent appearance on a program where she revealed that they did a fun collaboration for the Deadline album. Naturally, this once again directed all the attention toward BTS. Our third clue is the timing. After all BTS members completed their military service, it was announced that they are preparing for a full group comeback on March 20th, 2026 with an album titled ARIRANG. This information became one of the cornerstones of the rumors, because this comeback will be BTS's first full group album since 2022. So for BTS, March 2026 is not just an ordinary comeback, it marks a major comeback era, supported by a large-scale promotional plan built around it. Similarly, on the BLACKPINK side, they are set to release a new mini-album titled Deadline on February 27th, 2026. This album will mark the group's big comeback after a long break. Now, let me step in here for a moment. As you know, BLACKPINK's album was originally supposed to be released in 2025, but suddenly it was announced that it had been postponed due to technical reasons. Now, if BTS and BLACKPINK are indeed going to release a joint song, this decision must have been made within the last 6 months, because BLACKPINK updated their album release date to a time very close to BTS's album date. If a collaboration is coming, then most likely BLACKPINK did not postpone the album simply due to technical reasons. Instead, after receiving a collaboration offer, they may have delayed the album to align it with BTS's schedule. That's exactly why fans are asking this question. Is it really a coincidence that the two groups are releasing albums so close to each other? The fact that two massive names are dropping albums in almost the same weeks naturally led to the question, are they doing something together? There's also another important reality here. If they are going to release a joint song, neither BLACKPINK nor BTS can simply include it on their own album. Because in the music industry, there's an unwritten golden rule. If a duet is placed on one artist's album, that artist essentially owes the other artist a song in return. So friends, if BLACKPINK and BTS release a joint track and BLACKPINK includes it on their own album, then they would also need to make a song for BTS's album. And honestly, if even releasing one joint song between these two groups is already very unlikely, releasing two songs would be nearly impossible. That automatically means neither group can easily include this track on their own album, and this might actually be one of the reasons why BLACKPINK postponed their release date. Another clue is that both groups are especially connecting their albums to Korean culture during their promotions. I can already hear you asking, what do you mean? Let me explain in detail. BLACKPINK will not promote the Deadline mini-album with an ordinary press conference or a classic launch event. Instead, they have entered into a large-scale official collaboration with the National Museum of Korea. This is a very important detail because this museum is one of the most significant cultural institutions in Korea, and for the first time, it is carrying out an official project of this scale with a K-pop group. As part of the event, which will take place between February 26th and March 8th, BLACKPINK members are recording audio guides for major artifacts in the museum. This means that visitors touring the museum will be able to listen to Korea's cultural heritage narrated in the voices of BLACKPINK members. In addition, one day before the album's release, a special listening event will be held in the museum's main lobby, specifically in the History Road section. Visitors will be able to preview tracks from the new album in designated areas of the museum. And it doesn't stop there. The exterior of the museum building will be illuminated in BLACKPINK's signature pink color. Now let's move on to the BTS side. But before we do, I'd really appreciate it if you don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I upload 3 videos a week and I'm sure you wouldn't want to miss the latest K-pop news. Now we can move on to BTS. BTS is also planning to promote their upcoming album ARIRANG in a similar way at one of Korea's historic landmarks. In fact, even the album's title itself is a reference to Korean culture. As I mentioned before, ARIRANG is one of Korea's most well-known traditional folk songs. The group will hold their comeback performances at Gwanghwamun Square. The performance will begin inside Gyeongbokgung Palace and conclude in the square. Gyeongbokgung Palace is one of the most important symbols in Korean history. In addition, the concert is planned to be broadcast live to more than 190 countries via Netflix. So as you can see, what both groups are doing is fundamentally similar. They are promoting their albums not only through music but also through Korea's historical and cultural identity. And I also want to add this: K-pop groups have proven their global scale to the world in such a powerful way that instead of simply releasing a classic album, they've turned it into a massive experience. And right now, they are truly about to present legendary stages to audiences. Now, let's move on to another clue. It is known that the famous producer Diplo, who is involved in BTS's new album, also recently worked on BLACKPINK's song Jump. Because of this, fans started thinking things like, they're working with the same producer, so their musical styles must be very close to each other during this era. By the way, let me give you one more small piece of information. Diplo described this new album as BTS's craziest album, so the fact that Diplo has been connected to both of these groups recently sparked the idea that the 3 big names could potentially collaborate together. Where were we? Was it the 5th clue? Honestly, I lost count. Let's just call it number 5. A few weeks ago, RM posted a story. I think it was taken from a comic book, I'm not exactly sure, but it featured 4 girls and 7 boys. Of course, right in the middle of all these rumors, RM posting something with 4 girls only fueled the speculation even more. Another clue was BTS members being spotted at BLACKPINK's recent concerts. J-Hope, RM, and Suga were seen attending BLACKPINK concerts. This strengthened the perception that they are on good terms and supporting one another. Now let me tell you what's in my heart. I honestly didn't think this kind of duet was possible. In fact, I'll be completely honest with you. I didn't think about it at all. But when I line up all these clues one after another like this, the part of me that's secretly excited about this duet can't help but say, whoa. Could it actually happen? Are you like me? Please write in the comments. Put the fan wars aside for a moment and just imagine, wouldn't it be amazing if 2 groups that represent K-pop this strongly released a song together? Actually, this collaboration isn't as impossible as many of you might think. There's this perception that YG and HYBE artists would never come together or collaborate, but we've seen that perception break many times in the past. For example, in 2023, YG entertainment artist Taeyang and HYBE artist Jimin released a song called Vibe. Or in 2024, Zico and Jennie released a song together, and Zico is normally considered a HYBE artist, so don't assume that HYBE artists and YG artists can't come together, because they can and they do. And if we even set the artists aside for a moment, these 2 companies may seem like rivals in the industry, almost like enemies, but that's not entirely true. In 2021, HYBE invested approximately $63 million in YG Plus so that YG Plus could handle the distribution of HYBE artists' music and merchandise. In other words, the 2 companies that many people see as longtime rivals have actually formed a serious business partnership behind the scenes. Let me give you an example. The biggest smartphone brands, Apple and Samsung, appear to be arch rivals, but in reality, Samsung manufactures many of Apple's phone screens, so the companies we see as competitors are actually working together behind the scenes, just like HYBE and YG collaborating. Up until now, we've talked about the possibilities of this duet happening. Now let's discuss the other side of the equation. No matter how impressive the claims I just mentioned may sound, when we look at the concrete data we actually have, we see nothing. There isn't even the smallest official confirmation or solid evidence. A collaboration between a globally operating group like BTS and a globally established brand like BLACKPINK would not be a simple studio project. Such a collaboration would require a multi-layered system involving contract negotiations, publishing rights, distribution planning, global promotion schedules, and approval from 2 major companies. In a system that complex, information usually leaks out at some point. But so far, we haven't received any credible information. So either the companies have become extremely professional at managing the process in complete secrecy, or all of this is simply a rumor. The second and perhaps most important reason is that both groups are already planning massive comebacks in 2026 on their own. On the BLACKPINK side, Deadline is not just a mini-album. It is positioned as a continuation of the world tour that began in 2025. Moreover, there is a 79-concert world tour planned from April 2026 to early 2027. That alone is a gigantic operation. On top of that, the members' individual projects are also very busy. In other words, BLACKPINK already seems set to experience 2026 at maximum intensity. Adding a collaboration with a group as big as BTS into that schedule would be strategically very complicated. The picture is similar on the BTS side. The ARIRANG album is not just a new release. It represents a full group comeback after military service. There is an expectation of approximately 27 billion Turkish liras in ticket revenue from BTS's world tour, and with merchandise sales included, the projected total revenue exceeds 39.4 billion Turkish liras. A project with that level of economic scale already has the capacity to dominate the global agenda on its own. All these details show that BTS's 2026 plan is also extremely packed and intense. In other words, both groups appear to have schedules fully loaded with the goal of taking their own brands to the peak in the same year. For example, in some of the videos shared about these duet rumors, it was claimed that Suga and Jennie were seen on the same set and that these photos were actually from both groups' music video shoots, because the location and the trucks looked almost identical. But when I looked into it more carefully, I found out that the photo Jennie shared actually belonged to her song Dracula, so it had no connection to Suga at all. And friends, I'm sorry to say this, but the collaboration Rosé mentioned on that program will most likely be with Bebe Rexha, because there has been a lot of social media speculation about that lately. As for the Diplo topic, yes, Diplo is involved in both BLACKPINK's song Jump and BTS's album ARIRANG. However, in the music industry, it is quite common for major producers to work on multiple global projects at the same time. That does not automatically mean the artists themselves are collaborating with each other. There's also the point I mentioned earlier about YG and HYBE artists collaborating. In reality, most of those collaborations were solo duets between individual members. Our examples were almost entirely solo collaborations. There have been almost no full group duets. If BTS and BLACKPINK were to release a song together, it would be the first time in the history of these two major companies that their full groups collaborated on a duet. Now let's really think this through. Okay, maybe that wasn't the right expression. Let's put our heads in our hands and think carefully. 2026 is shaping up to be a massive comeback year for both BTS and BLACKPINK, happening within the same time frame. Yes, both groups are presenting projects that highlight Korean cultural heritage. Yes, there is a shared producer connection through Diplo. Yes, HYBE and YG have established investment and business relationships in the past. However, none of these factors alone or combined are enough to conclude that there is an official BTS x BLACKPINK collaboration. God knows what's in our hearts. For now, all we can do is hold on to hope. In the end, it's not impossible, right? So I'm going to leave a poll right here. Make sure to vote on what you think about this potential collaboration, and don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments. I love you all so much. Take very good care of yourselves. Goodbye.